Welcome to another movie plot and enjoy the memories. We open in the distant future with a starship on a top-secret mission for the Emperor of the Galaxy. Without warning, they're bombarded by an overlay of red spheres, causing the whole crew to swiftly descend into madness. 3 pods, each carrying a single survivor, manage to escape just before the mothership crashes into the atmosphere of a passing planet. Meanwhile, in a duller part of the galaxy but heading towards the more colorful stuff, is a smuggler named Stella. The dirty blonde afro beside her is the alien navigator Akton, who has a larger Swiss Army knife of abilities than Superman himself. The pair evade capture from the space cop Thor and his robot deputy Elle, who inexplicably speaks with a Texan accent.
Release her or I'll blast your queen.
The elusive outlaws escape by simply entering the vibrant red headache of hyperspace and popping out on the other side scot-free. Caught in the gravitational pull of a big glowy green neutron star, Stella's forced to jettison their ship's rump to survive. It allows them to regain control, and they eventually come across one of the escape pods from the beginning. Stella, ever the nosy, spacewalks across and makes her way inside, where she finds a lone survivor talking about a red monster attacking their ship. Since this movie came out a year before Alien, she takes the feeble man on board her ship without scanning his chest cavity first. He isn't a threat, luckily, but Thor and Elle arrive, having tracked them through hyperspace, which I hear is really hard to do. The fugitives are captured and put on trial, while Stella's now suddenly in a bikini, probably fishing for a lighter sentence. Unfortunately, the head in a jar judge lacks the facilities, so he splits them into separate penal colonies until the day they die. On a mining planet, Stella's forced into hard labor hauling around big radioactive balls, and I bet she regrets putting this thing on now. Before her skin melts off, she convinces the other inmates to revolt, and when John Cop comes beating on her, it's the last thing he ever does. A slave takes his laser gun, and I'd like to say that Stella leads these people to freedom, but she dips while everyone else gets pulverized. She braves the planet's surface until coming across an Imperial spaceship landing and climbing on board, intending to hijack it. It appears empty at first, but she's captured again, and it turns out that she just got everyone on this planet killed for no reason. Thor and Elle have been sent to release Stella for rescuing the escape pod survivor and reunite her with Akton. They bring the pair to the Imperial flagship, but I'm not sure why, as the Emperor just appears to them by hologram. He offers a full pardon if the galaxy's best astro pilot will find the remaining escape pods, as one contains his only son, Prince Simon. He was on a mission to find the hidden base of the villainous Count Zarth, who may dress like Space Dracula but possesses no powers. The Doom machine that sent those red blobs is a device that he uses to protect his planet, so they at least know the vicinity that it's in. Now officially agents of the Emperor and remaining in the impractical outfit, Stella teams up with the space cops to find the missing prince. They travel through the horrendous excuse for hyperspace to visit what they call haunted planets and the location of the escape pods. The aliens remain on board the ship while Stella and Elle go down to the surface, but find a crash that nobody could survive. They get captured by a party of Amazon women on red horses led by Queen Corelia, who is secretly allied with the evil Count. It doesn't take too long to learn this, as they shoot Elle and jump Stella while screaming random lines like "We are better than you." They already had her captured and bring her to the same place they were already going to get a generic villain speech from the Queen. She threatens to extract the Emperor's plan from Stella's head with a mind probe, which must suck by this reaction. Luckily, Elle reboots in time to rescue Stella and seals Corelia inside the throne room that locks from the outside. The police issue gun completely vaporizes any guards that they come across and blows a hole through the door to easily escape. From her throne room, the Queen calls forth a giant top-heavy robot to awkwardly pursue the fugitives because design choices were made. The Guardian traps them with its massive sword, causing Stella to trip over nothing and not be able to hop up until Elle helps her. Their alien saviors arrive in the ship just in time to laser the machine and mournfully watch it dying like King Kong for some reason. Somehow these horse-riding, spear-wielding women also have starfighters and chase the outlaws, but they're all just shot out of the sky, no problem. Once he's done enjoying himself, Akton tracks down the remains of the ship that blew up in the beginning to a nearby planet. Wisely changing out of her bikini this time, Stella explores the frozen surface with Elle, but they find no survivors once again. While they're away, Akton is bludgeoned to death by the traitorous Thor, who turns out to be a spy working for the Count. He traps Stella outside so that when the sun sets she'll freeze to death, but the robot feels betrayed also and intends to save her. It keeps her alive by using energy to keep her heart working, while the rest of her turns into a frozen popsicle when the temperature drops. They would still die if Akton couldn't revive, and he fights Thor with some of the craziest looking moves that make Stella's karate chops look effective. If that's not enough, he also has the power of the eyeball glint, which allows him to deflect Thor's lasers off his own flesh as the lightsaber comes later. When the sun rises, the frozen Stella's brought back onto the ship, where Akton thaws her out, as the writers just used this guy to solve all their problems. Now in a second bikini that Thor's ship apparently contained, Akton slips into conversation that he's also able to see into the future. He claims to have known that Thor would betray them and kept it a secret for everyone else's benefit, but now the writers are just taking the piss. It allows them to have the godlike alien direct the ship right to the Count's hidden base where the crew get bombarded by the red bubbles. As the human and even robot go insane, the ridiculously overpowered Sidekick just pilots them through the planetary defenses like it ain't no thing. He does all of this and then just remains on the ship again while Stella gets into a plastic bag and puts her life on the line searching this volcanic landscape. Elle searches the final escape pod that's in nice enough condition that somebody might have survived, but they get ambushed by cavemen. They don't evaporate like the women did, so Elle gets smashed to pieces by the most embarrassing group of people to be defeated by. They take the woman back to their cave intending on dining well tonight when a masked stranger shows up shooting lasers from his eyes. For once it isn't Akton with some new power, and instead Stella's savior is revealed to be Prince Simon, whose fancy mask is now out of space batteries. Trying to escape and holding hands to make it extra difficult while running, Stella and Simon get jumped by more cavemen. Of course we needed Lord Akton to save them with his simple laser sword for copyright purposes and cuts down the cavemen like they just murdered his mother. The rest scatter and Akton leads them through the cave to the entrance of an underground laboratory as part of his see the future ability, I guess. He says this is the Count's secret base and walks them through the empty facility, naming all the rooms like a tour guide sightseeing in Chinatown. They reach a command center where they get captured, but it's hard to take any of the Count's victories seriously when Akton supposedly predicts everything. He has to listen to this monologue twice then, I guess, as the Count explains how he plans to use the prince as bait to lure the Emperor. While he's off leading an invasion on the capital world, this planet will self-destruct and these automatons are going to make sure the prisoners don't leave. None of this explains why he leaves Stella and the fuzzy-haired demigod alive, but luckily he does because Akton's the one who didn't get frisked. He engages the golems with his flashlight in an edge-of-your-seat clash featuring such moves as making a robot disappear like a shadow. The second one wounds him, which he totally knew was going to happen, and he was just handing the sword over to the dramatic diver. Simon continues the fight, but once again everyone needs saving by Akton, who Goldberg spear tackles the last stop motion to death. I think he literally just broke his back carrying this team, as he says that he's too damaged to go on and is no longer useful to the group. Stella reminds him that he can heal himself in seconds with his powers, but I think this dude just wants to get off this one-way street.
You must live. He
gives them the go on without me tears, then spontaneously combusts into what I can only imagine is pure aura. Without so much of a tear out of his lifelong partner, the Emperor arrives with his flagship that can somehow freeze time for precisely 3 minutes. That's conveniently just enough time for everyone to evacuate the planet, and the only one who dies from the Count's evil plan are the unfortunate cavemen. The Emperor swiftly reaches the enemy fortress that takes the cake in this movie for a logical design, as it's shaped like a fist and must close to protect itself. An armada is released, and as an extended space battle takes place, all our named heroes watch from the bridge instead of actually doing something. Torpedoes are launched from the flagship that could have ended this war if they weren't just filled with space seals instead of actual explosives. The team storm the command center trying to get a foothold in the fortress, but are all slaughtered as this was a silly idea. These doomed coffins apparently contain the Emperor's entire army, so he resides to giving up as they have nothing left to defeat the Count. He suddenly remembers they just happen to have this massive abandoned rainbow-colored city floating at arm's length and could crash it into the hand. The maneuver is dubbed a Starcrash, and since that's the title of the movie, it must be performed by the main actor, as them's the rules. Stella volunteers to fly the city while Simon will try to pick her up in space, and these two have about as much chemistry as Luke and Leia. She's relieved to see that the Emperor's men have repaired Elle, but instead of logically letting the robot do the job, she still risks her own life. It accompanies her at least as Stella pilots the space station intended for humanity's future towards the Count's balled-up fist. When coming under heavy fire, Stella says they need to evade the fighters, but this is a city, so they evade nothing and just wait it out. The automated defenses just do all the work, and our heroes leap out an open window before collision with this noise from Elle. Everyone who works for the Count escapes to avoid an ethical debate, and the floating city crashes into the fortress, ending Zarth Arn's reign of terror. Stella and Elle are picked up by the prince, and upon reuniting they give us these final riveting lines of dialogue.
Ah, Stella.
Simon.
The Emperor of the Galaxy, sitting on his rather cool-looking star throne, delivers a generic conclusion about how it feels good to be a winner. And the movie ends.